Hello and welcome to Separated by Water, the podcast for people over here who support teams over there. My name is Colin Campbell. I'm a Tottenham Hotspur season ticket holder for my scenes. My co-host is Paul Galt. Hi, Paul. How are you?
Couple of defeats and back-to-back defeats
Yeah,
for us. Yeah. We'll
not
hope
just
that.
quite as good as you were. Anyway,
Yeah.
I know the feeling. I know the
Anyway, I'll
feeling.
let you introduce our
Yeah,
our guest, please,
yep.
Colin.
Very special show tonight. They always are special, but even specialer, if it can be such a thing.
More
We
special.
have punk rock royalty, I would call it. Henry Clooney, ex-Stiff Little Fingers and now ex-SLF,
That's
amongst
me.
other things, of world renown. We're very lucky to have him here today. Unfortunately, he's an Arsenal fan, but more of that later. So, Henry, you're very, very welcome, and thanks for getting here. I know you have a busy schedule,
Well,
but
as you know,
hopefully
Colin, I
you
mean,
enjoy it.
I've known you for at least 3 years, so
Yeah, well, the dementia then, that's good. But you don't
Coming
remember
in
the
a wee bit here.
10,000 you owe me
I've
then?
got to say up front, I have known Colin since, when did I meet you? Probably the 80s down seeing you.
Oh, the 80s, it was the 80s. Yeah. Well, it was
Well,
the
I'm not-
70s. In the 70s.
Sure, we played with you in the
Yeah,
70s.
the punk rock days of the mid to late 70s, we met, and then I was very friendly with Henry's brother. Then we met, we
Yep.
followed Crusaders together through the 80s, early 90s with some great times, great fun. We were reminiscing there earlier.
Still is.
Yeah, and Henry, you actually composed the tune for the cruise coming out to start a game. Not right. We're red. We're red.
We're
we're
red,
black.
we're black. The hatchet men are back.
And are back. Yeah, I nearly said we're nearly right out. We're red. Yeah, and very great lyrics, at the time. But they did outcame the team, and it was inspiring in its own way.
Do you
But
know
we've
the
obviously
first-
moved on to, well, he has the better thing. I'm not sure about me.
The first week the team, I gave that to them. I gave it to Roy Walker as manager at the time. I gave it to Roy Walker. It was the second leg of the game against Servette. And
Yeah,
the first
that's
time
right.
he used it, they lost 4-0. So that was maybe a harbinger of what it really was,
Yeah.
Here, take
And
this
for
as a
those,
speed talk.
for those certain age, that wasn't Roy Walker who used to do catchphrase. Although sometimes when you saw some of the moves, he probably said it's good, but it's not right.
That's good.
He did
It's
well,
not-
Roy. We won a couple of championships with him. That was a team. Kirk Hunter. Oh my goodness. Anyway,
what
all our
a-
yesterdays.
Anyway, that was then.
If you've tuned in, you probably tuned in to hear Henry talk not about Crusaders, but about his second, third, first love, whatever it may be. Arsenal. Henry, we always start with a very, very simple question. I think Paul's going to come in here. We're going to kick it around a wee bit.
Usual question: why and when did you start supporting Arsenal? Why?
Well, when you're growing up, you sort of, when you start getting into football, you like teams, but you don't really. I mean, you say, "Oh, I like these guys," and then the next week it could be, "Oh no, I like these guys." I remember going to see Arsenal. They came over and did a exhibition game over in East Belfast at the Oval. I was at school and went to see that, and it just was the first team that I really sort of saw and thought, well, I liked it, and I thought, well, you sort of, I'll get serious about supporting somebody rather than saying, who will I like? So that's where it came from, just going to see them in the 70s. Then I moved to.
What age were you then? What age roughly then were you?
Oh, about 14.
Yeah.
So it would have been about then. It was just something that you don't. It wasn't like anybody, like everybody used to, like anybody knows. You don't plan it. You just sort of go, well, I like this, because unless you get some sort of family connection, you support who you support. Everybody's got different reasons. That was mine, and it was like,
very good.
I like them. Same with any team. It was Crusaders back home because it was short road, but that's where the whole Arsenal thing came from.
It's why we ask, because obviously coming from this island, separated by water, it's not like you just live down the street or from the local team and all that. It's always how things occur, be it a family connection, they were on TV that night or they came over. I think it's important to highlight the point you had. It was important. It was wonderful when the big teams came over to Belfast.
And the troubles.
Yeah. I mean, I remember your brother and I. We hired the car. He drove it for obvious reasons. I wasn't going to, but we took a day off. Like to watch Spurs play Korean.
Right.
God, it was amazing. Hired the car and all, and driving up the what wasn't the M2, it was the 8. Well, it wasn't even the 826 those days. There were hundreds of Spurs Englishmen going up, and it was just the excitement. They got a half day from school in Korea that time.
Brilliant.
Oh yeah, but when the teams came over, it was really exciting for youngsters, and I think they should always try to remember that. Coming up to date,
Poland, was that the start of the Milk Cup? Was that the start?
No, it had been over. No, it was the Cup Winners' Cup. It was 1982 Cup Winners' Cup. And our deal is called Ricky Villa was playing, Stevie Archibald, Garth Crooks, Hoddle wasn't playing that day. It was a big team. It was great, great excitement. Felix Healy, mentioned superstars. He was playing for Korean.
Best
it was a great day. But no, it was great to see Spurs over. Some play the Glen, some play a number of teams.
Right.
But in terms of Henry, this season coming up to date, are you happy with the season how it's going, or are you disappointed that it should have gone better? How
Too many
stand on that?
Too many draws. Teams that they should have put. I was over for the Ipswich match, and I thought, okay, we're at the Emirates. We're playing Ipswich. All no harm to Ipswich, but I could see 4-0, 5-0. They were lucky to scrape a 1-0 win. And you think that sort of thing, they just aren't putting teams away that they should be putting away. Okay, you can the argument being, Arteta has got them this, but how many managers get that many years to win something? I mean, he won the FA Cup, but coming second every year. I mean, it got bad when Wenger was saying becoming fourth is like winning a trophy. I mean, it's not. It's coming fourth. And I think the thing with Arteta was, I get a wee bit sick of this. Trust the process. Yeah, but for how long? I mean, all the talk about you need to sign a striker, and I mean, but we've missed 4 transfer windows and still haven't signed one. If this summer he doesn't sign, I know they're talking about Isak and people like that, Gyökeres and people like that, but I don't know. I think he's going to have to sign a striker. He's going to have to give us some more cover in certain areas, because, like a lot of teams, Saka gets injured, Odegaard gets injured, and you can see the difference in the team. Even just one player or 2 players makes, and you think the cover maybe isn't there for them, because they bring in certain players who, I'm not saying they're not good players. Yes, they are. But when you're a supporter of a team, as you know, and one of the top players goes out, you think, okay, well, he's going to be out for a couple of weeks, we should be okay. But I think with Arsenal, it's been a case of if he goes out, that's it. Same as Liverpool. If Salah get injured, I don't think Liverpool would win the league.
Yeah, Rodri and City, I suppose, is a good example.
Rodri gets
injured,
end up 5th or something.
Aye, it's certainly bottom fell out of thing there. Yeah. Maybe more to it, but I take your point.
I think that Arsenal show more patience with managers than possibly any other team in the league. And I believe that second place, and it leads me on to the next question about Arteta. If you don't win the Champions League, there's 2 or 3 parts to this question. Is he safe? If you don't win the Champions League, is he safe? The amount of money he spent, I looked it up earlier on this afternoon, it's heading rapidly up to £1 billion.
It is.
And they haven't won it, and they've only got an FA Cup to show for it.
That's the problem. And I mean, I think, even looking at the Real Madrid match last week, on their day, Arsenal can beat anybody, but there hasn't been enough Days. On your day, okay, you can say that on your day, we beat Real Madrid 3-0. But there hasn't been enough of that for me. Great. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I was bouncing around the room, 3-0, race, baby, all this. But then you see they come back, and at the weekend, you watch matches against Everton, and you could see that, to me, they just sort of weren't that into it. It didn't seem to matter to them, but they had too much focus on this Wednesday. And I think the problem with that is, where does your focus lie? It's understandable because Liverpool's won the league. I mean, you'd be silly to say Liverpool hasn't won the league. Of course they have. Arsenal aren't going to make up, 47 points in the last 6 weeks. But I think if the squad was bigger, if they had more depth where they could bring people in and out for certain games, there's no reason why you couldn't compete for the Champions League and do well in the league too. I understand if you're playing Liverpool or Forest this year, or Chelsea or City. I nearly said Spurs, but I didn't want to laugh. But
I should have introduced you to my ex-friend, Henry Sweeney.
So, but I've never met you before, so I don't see how that would work. Anyway, no, I think you're right. I think you've got to say, how many chances do you get before somebody says enough? But then you look at Alex Ferguson. He was about to get kicked out of United, and then he won He won the FA Cup, and then suddenly, after that, bought a string of league championships and all the rest of it. So, it's one of those ones.
Is he safe?
He's what?
Safe. Arteta.
Is Arteta safe? Or will they go somewhere else?
I think right now, I think if he left, there would be a kick up about it. There's a lot of people saying Arteta must go. I think people are going to have more ammunition after the summer transfer window. If he comes back and he hasn't signed 2 or 3 named players or 2 or 3 people that are going to do the job in their positions, I think you'll hear a lot more Arteta out. Because I mean, they've been second for a couple of years in a row. The 1 year City, like you say, Rodri gets injured. City have been awful, and we still don't win the league.
Yeah,
you can say what you want about Liverpool, but had Arsenal won the matches they should have won, had they not got stupid draws, it would have been closer than it is right now. So if he doesn't do something in this transfer window, I think you are going to hear a lot more of it. If come next season, come August, they're playing, no matter who it might be, and they don't win the first couple of matches, I think you'll see a lot of pressure on them to go.
Yeah. I think he'll be the manager going into next season.
Yeah, that's what I
still think there's much goodwill there. I'm wondering, is there a phenomenon, I was talking about it earlier, whereby Arsenal are good enough to win the Champions League, but not quite good enough to win the Premier League? That's good. I mean,
I think, much as I'd love to win it, like I say, on their day, Arsenal could, to me, they can beat anybody on their day. Of course, there's a lot of good teams still left in it. But right now, sitting here 3-0 up against Madrid, I put it like this: if Arsenal won the Champions League, I wouldn't be gasping in surprise. It would be like, great. But it's also one of those things where teams, I mean, and I know, Paul, you're a Forest guy, and Forest had their day back in, the 80s? And certain teams, Spurs being one of them, Arsenal being one of them, where you sort of look at it, you've got to be challenging for the league, or else it's not a successful year.
Yeah.
And certain teams aren't going to say that. You're not going to get Everton right now saying, next year we're challenging for the league, because realistically they won't be. But a team like Arsenal, team like Spurs, team like United, Chelsea, City, they should all be challenging. Liverpool should be challenging for the league. And I don't think you can keep saying, well, we came second, second. How many seconds do you need before you're, out the door?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there's teams that take second. Teams will be happy with second, and I wouldn't blame them. Teams would be like, you're second in the league and you're complaining. Well, yeah, because you're good enough to win it. But
I mean, that was a point I was trying to make to Paul and others about, even Spurs, where I'm saying that they have the financial clout and they have the history to be able to buy 2 or 3 game changers. And the standard, she was setting the standard a lot higher than it has been over the last couple of years, And I think it's not, we're not hard to please. It's if you let the standards drop, then they will drop, and players and so on. I mean, you've seen it with teams who have been relegated and haven't quite got back, and they assimilate their new position. And there's a lot of them there, and the Barnsleys and the Sheffields even of the world, And in a similar, different but similar way, I take the point you're making. I mean, I think that's what happened with Wenger. If I could use the term, they assimilated fourth place. It was like, there's by right. And they accepted that there was going to be United and Liverpool and somebody above them, Chelsea or Liverpool or Chelsea or more recently City. So the fourth place became there. And then I could understand why that was frustrating. Equally Spurs to a lower level of recent years. But, Pochettino had lifted that. And we were really going for it. And then it's come back down again. My theory is because while Enoch are making as much money as they are, why should they really care?
Yeah.
But it's interesting, to get the take on Arteta. As somebody who does not wish him well at all, I don't think he helps himself in the interviews at times, I have to say. It was always definitely a penalty, or it was never a penalty, or that wasn't a goal, or it was a goal, or VAR was wrong, or VAR was right. He's a wee bit snappier at times.
The problem, I think, on that point, it's like Arsenal don't get beat; they beat themselves. And you never see, I nearly said Wenger. Arteta doesn't really take a lot of blame. If Arsenal lose, okay, I mean, they don't lose a great many matches in the league.
Sure.
But when they do, or it's a stupid draw, you don't see him saying, he very rarely will come out and say, I got the control. I should have done this.
We were sucker punched something else.
Yeah, there's an excuse.
I think that's probably what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I know that outside Emirates that plays negatively at times.
Yeah.
Well,
he's not
Arsenal. Sorry.
No, just that he's not a popular guy with other teams, and I understand that. But being an Arsenal supporter, it's hard to look at it from the outside and say,
sure, I know what you mean.
I mean, the first thing I'm going to say is why not, but I can understand why not.
Well, I mean, it's like the players here hated the most are the ones who probably secretly admire the most.
Yeah.
I mean, Postecoglou must be loved by every other team in the Premiership because he's come down and win,
I don't know what happened to him. I mean, he goes up to Celtic, wins all round him. I haven't said that. Okay, the Scottish League at the time was a one-team league. I mean, I could manage Celtic and won the league, but
I think that's perception. I know Scottish football fans, which we don't go into, probably disagree with our Celtic fans certainly. But I mean, that is a widely held perception. That's one I have. I think it's easier, and I think you need more, better, broader skill set in the Premier League. Sorry, Paul, we were kind of leaving you out there. Are you all right?
No. I was just going to make the point about Arteta. The mitre ball when he blamed the ball was it in the FA Cup or the League Cup, and I just thought he sounded like a time in the playground,
ball square.
The thing I found with that, I watched the interview. I don't think he actually said that. I don't think he actually blamed the ball. There was some ridiculous excuse, yes.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was to do with, the ball had too much air in it or something, it wasn't that. As it has in the NFL, they had Deflategate, or the Patriots won the Super Bowl because the ball wasn't blown up full of the full rank. And I mean, had he said it, if he had said we lost because of the ball, I wouldn't be surprised. Don't think any of you two would be surprised either, because that's what he does.
Yeah.
It does get to a point where sometimes the excuses you sit and go, well, that's ought to be good.
Well, I mean, one thing
who do you think will get into the final of the Champions League first of all, and who do you think will win it?
I'll have to say, if I don't say Arsenal, I mean, I'm not treating them with the right respect I should. I mean, my hope is Arsenal, but I always thought Real Madrid was the big step. I mean, you've got the other teams that are in it, but Real Madrid have always been the sort of the thing you've got to look up to and say they're the team. Liverpool. Well, you look at Liverpool. I mean, I expected Liverpool to go further than they did. So there's enough good teams in it that it's going to be still a hard competition. But I do fancy Arsenal this year. I really do.
Yeah. Worryingly so. I have a feeling about them. I think that the thing is with our Madrid out. That's okay. I think every other team going to fancy themselves this year.
Worse.
PSG and Villa. I think it's open, but that's your chance to win it.
Well, tomorrow night's going to tell a lot. I mean, I know that's an obvious thing to say, but if you're 3-0 up, you go to Madrid. If they don't win that, or at least don't go through to the next round, that's going to be a big. We're talking about Arteta out. You're going to get a lot of abuse, criticism or abuse. Call it what you want.
Will be.
If Arsenal go to the market tomorrow night and lose 4-0, and go out for one goal, there's going to be a lot of, and I probably would say deserved criticism, because if you're 3-0 up and you get your tactics right, we should win it. We should go through. I'm sitting here thinking tomorrow. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we're going through, but that's because, like I say, I know on their day Arsenal can beat anybody. And if they don't, it might be down to the ball again.
Well, it's 111 games since you conceded 3 goals in a game. 111 games.
And especially to go 3-0 down, and I think they were a bit shell-shocked at that.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the match...
I
was shell-shocked. I mean, those 2 free kicks, I mean, brilliant. Yeah. And... like you say, 111 games. I mean, when you come away from somewhere, and I'm sure they went to the Emirates thinking, well, maybe get a draw out of this, maybe a 1-0 loss to take back. But when you lose 3-0, it's it's as close to a good hiding as you're going to get.
Yeah, for sure.
Hiding that we all would get. It's fascinating. If you'd had the forward that you mentioned, coming at the start of the season, or even, would you think it would have changed things? You'd have won the league.
I do. I think. I mean, when you're sort of relying on Kai Havertz and then he gets injured, you're relying on Marino. Of course, and Jesus went out. So, I mean, there was matches there where they had no recognised forwards. When you put Marino up forward, and don't get me wrong, he's done great. I thought everything was done great, but he's not a forward; he's a midfielder. And had they had somebody with the sort of the whole thing of the fox in the box nonsense, but if you had a Isak up there, or you had a Gyökeres, I think they would.
Or Chris Wood.
I don't think he would come because.
Paul, I availed Paul when Chris Wood went to Forest. I said, play him the right way, and you'll get a lot of goals.
He's definitely a good striker, like. But
I wouldn't be Arsenal, but I just, is it will it come down to that? Will the perception be at the end of the season? We could have,
I think. Okay, I'm one of in the camp of yes. If we had a forward, 1 or 2 really good forwards, especially teams that we should be beating. What can you say? I mean, if you're not scoring, the whole point of the game, if you're not scoring goals, there has to be a reason. And if you're not scoring goals and you see, well, with no forwards, I mean, it's not hard to work out why. You're not scoring goals, but with no forwards, can't think why we're not scoring then, So
even you look at the league, the old-fashioned striker, there's only a handful of teams have an old-fashioned striker set up now. They don't like the Chris Wood, like the Salah. I would say Salah's an out-and-out striker, but I just think that they don't have that the different style of football now compared to what it used to be. But
Well, when I look at
that'd be
when you look at even the 70s, when Forrest had not Peter with, who was the
Stevenson.
I mean, all those guys up front. When you look at some of the teams in the 70s, that their front 3 or 4 were always the big guys. So you did always have, like you say, a forward that all he was there for was scoring. I mean, you look at Leeds with Alan Clark, and back in those days, Mick Jones. And you had players like that was their job, and that's what they did. Now, like you say, being a forward doesn't just mean leaning on the goalpost until the ball comes into your area, you know. Yeah. But I think the players are out there; they can do that. I just think we don't have them right now.
Mm.
I mean, I can look at Arsenal.
Is there one in particular, Henry, you'd want to come? Is there anybody in mind that you'd want to come to Arsenal?
Well, I would love Isak to come, but I don't think he will. Gyökeres, I think, would be the next good one to look at because he's scoring goals. But with Arteta, I wouldn't be surprised he brought in somebody we've probably never heard of. I mean, you bring in players. I mean, when they brought in Ian Wright, it was not Ian Wright. When they brought in Thierry Henry, I mean, there wasn't a lot of, this guy's the best striker in Europe. Yet he turned out to be the best striker in the league.
Well, you've seen this sort of field of it at Juventus, wasn't it?
Yeah. And he brought him in and made him into what he became.
Yeah.
And I think if you've got the management style, you can do that. But obviously then you make the case of, yes, you can do that, but you've got to have the player in the first place. I mean, you can't work with somebody that isn't there. So, if they bring in Billy Joe Raybob as the striker and they work with him and make him the best striker in Europe, great. But then it's like, what do you do? Do you buy somebody that's a project, or do you buy somebody that's the finished article? And I think right now Arsenal need the finished article.
Yeah. I agree with you.
Right.
I think it's
the time to wait to develop somebody.
No. I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
I mean,
where they are, where they are and where they're meant to be in terms of what everything we've talked about here, in terms of the number of seasons have fallen short, if you will, i.e. not won it, and the perception of possible time run out for Arteta. They do need somebody to come in, hit the ground run, start scoring, and everything else is probably in place.
Well, I would never argue with anybody, because my view of it right now is Arsenal don't deserve to win the league. They're not good enough to win the league right now because, I mean, the league doesn't lie. You're top of the league for a reason. You're second for a reason. You're bottom for a reason. So you can't, if you turn around and say, we should have won that. No, why should we have won it? We didn't deserve to win it. We threw away goals. We threw away matches. Threw away draws. Threw away matches we should have won. You can't turn around and say we deserved it, because I most certainly didn't.
Probably just some frustration that this year there really hasn't been an outstanding team. No offense to Liverpool.
Liverpool, Liverpool,
very good, but
they are. But I've seen a lot of people say Liverpool have won a pretty boring league, pretty boring season. But at the same time, so what? They did it.
Oh yeah, you still got to do it, and I agree with that. I totally agree with that. Just if you're looking at it, you say, well, I mean, a number of teams appear to have been poor at the one time. Spurs, United, and City, and by their own standards. Arsenal probably fallen a wee bit short. Villa probably haven't kicked on. Newcastle,
I think Newcastle will be good next year. I'm expecting a lot from Newcastle next year.
Be interesting next year. It could be very interesting for a lot of things.
Although they can't, I know they can't spend a lot. They don't have a lot of room for spending. But I still think, I mean, they've come out of Newcastle now 5th.
I think they're in the mix.
Yep, definitely are.
Place,
and I think Newcastle. I expect Newcastle, Villa, Forest will be 3 teams that I think will be up competing. I don't see Spurs doing it next year. No harm to anybody.
I don't know what's going to happen to Spurs. That's not for tonight. I suppose we'll maybe come a wee bit in a minute. But In terms of
while we're talking about Spurs, you've known Colin longer than I have, Henry. And there's only one thing I know that he gets wound up about, and that is Arsenal doing well. And I'm not joking you. And I'm going to ask you a question, Colin, just so you can witness this, Henry. Colin, would you forfeit Europa League to stop Arsenal winning the Champions League?
yes.
That's not supporting a team. That's hating another team.
Yes.
And he's brazen about it. Absolutely brazen about it. It's like,
well, not brazen. Yeah, the question have answered it. I mean, what can I do? I really, I know, but well, it isn't its own way. But the ideal would be Spurs win the Europa League and somebody else wins.
I don't think they will. I don't think Spurs will win it.
No, I'll tell you something. If we move on, I mean, we'll probably a couple of reviews. Henry, we join into this. I mean, we're looking at the Champions League. We've talked about it there. Yeah, and on its back or in its shadow, there are two very big games for English clubs on Thursday. There's United at home to Lyon and Tottenham out at Frankfurt. Now, awaiting them will be either Rangers or Bilbao for United, or Frankfurt and Spurs. Either of them will be Lazio or Blint, who look good. Now, they're just south of the Arctic Circle, apparently, so that should be interesting. The away match should be interesting there. But just a couple of things from my point of view. I really want Spurs to go through. I really, really do. I thought they were a little bit unlucky last week, but having said that, as you said before, you make your own luck. If you can't put the ball in the net, then,
it's your own fault.
Yeah. The thing is, I don't think UEFA ever envisaged the possibility where the final could be contested between two teams who are respectively about 15th, 16th, or 17th in their own leagues.
Yeah.
You nearly think, the Europa League would be not fit for purpose. I think they envisage people who just missed qualifying for the Champions League,
right,
so on and so forth, But having said that, God, we're in it to win it. My big fear is, because I am a bit superstitious and all that kind of thing, is that we've beaten United through, I've said this before, we've beaten United 3 times this season. Yeah, but 3 out of 3.
Crusaders could
but if we play them, but we'll play them on the 4th time, they'll be us. It's written in the stars.
You just can't keep doing it.
No, I just written in the stars. But having said that, interesting, Villa, United, Spurs, Arsenal in the mix. And it could be very interesting over the next while. Question.
Michael asked us in the comments there, do you see Lewis Skelly playing left back long term or transitioning into midfield?
I think he's got that position sewn up. He with the backs at Arsenal, of course, you're talking about. I mean, I think they're going to lose. What do you call him? Go back up to Celtic this year.
Tierney
will go back to Celtic this year, and you definitely need cover. But I think Lewis Skelly's got that sewn up because he's come on so well.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at him.
I think he's held in a position perfectly.
And I mean, I always love it because you can tell if you watch a match at an away ground and a player gets booed, they don't boo bad players.
Oh, that's right. So, yeah.
If they boo Lewis Skelly, there's a reason for it. Because he's a good player. He's a young guy come up. He's done really well. I think I can see him having that position for the next 5 years.
Okay.
I mean, he's only 17, so he's got all the years ahead of him. Then they've got a few players coming up through the youth ranks and all, but it still leaves say Lewis Skelly stays there, brilliant. We've got that bit sewed up. Midfield, but Thomas Partey goes out, Gabriel goes out. The cover's a bit, I don't think the cover's there for them. And as we're saying, Liverpool streaking away at 15 points or 13 points ahead. I mean, you're never going to catch them. So it comes back to what I was saying. Yes, I think Lewis Skelly's got that sewn up, and I think Arteta handled that well. He brought him in when he needed to, and blooded him, as you would say, in that position, and it's worked out really well. Some players that he brought in just didn't do it. I mean, I think Sterling has been a disaster. I don't understand. I mean, he had one game where he was man of the match, but and he was great. Don't get me wrong. I thought he was a great player. He was great at Chelsea, and he was good at City. But since he came to Arsenal, he just doesn't seem to. When you see him on the starting lineup, the first thing you think is like, here we go. I mean,
there are a few strange transfers between Chelsea and Arsenal in the last 10 years or so.
A lot of them. I mean, when they brought in, what do you call him, with the hair?
I am thinking of the centre half.
I mean, it's like, what was that about?
It didn't say it coming. And there was the other forward who's now with Fulham.
Well, they had of course they had what do you call him? That's a Fulham. Smith Rowe was in. Rowe went to Fulham, and so did the guy with the dreads came from Arsenal.
Yeah. Memories are great, aren't they? Our memories are great for names.
I know. All these guys. I haven't said that, I suppose. There's very little movement between most London clubs, unless it's from West Ham.
It's funny because I was lying last night thinking, stupid things you think about when you're a football supporter. It's like, who would you like to get relegated? And I realised that apart from one team, they were all London teams. I mean, to me, it would be United first, then Spurs, and then probably West Ham, because I find them tedious. And Chelsea.
Well, there's a real answer to your question from earlier there. You see,
there's a crossover there. Yeah, there's a crossover. Yeah, I get it.
I'm saying that. I mean, of course, we had a brilliant year. What was it, 70, 72 and 73? United go down one year and Spurs go down the next year. So that was a great time.
Back up again. Yeah, I remember that. I actually do remember that Friday night.
Of course.
Look, your question, yes or no?
Your last six coming up. Yeah. Here's your last six coming up, Henry. Yep. Are you optimistic with them? I think the Ipswich and Southampton are good. You should be good, but the rest are all tight games. Palace are playing fantastic. Bournemouth are playing fantastic.
Liverpool match, I think Liverpool will have the league won by then anyway. I think that's a tough one. But you look at some of them. Okay, you look at the Ipswich match. I mean, I was at the reverse fixture, like I say, and I think we'll struggle. I do. Palace, I can see a draw. Newcastle will be a good match because obviously Newcastle are playing really well right now.
Well, then they could have something to play for. There's some of them with something to play for. Exactly. And it depends where Arsenal are, if they're still in the Champions League or not, how they'll be setting up.
Like anything, if they're still progressing in that, they're going to rest a lot of players.
Yeah.
Liverpool match, I think by that stage, maybe Liverpool will have won the league, and it's not going to be that important. Because, like I said earlier, as far as I'm concerned, they have won the league, and fair play to them. I think out of those, 6 matches, I would give us 3 wins and probably 3 draws. And for Arsenal right now, that's typical. They'll probably draw They'll probably draw with Southampton.
Yeah, I think the Brentford match had Arsenal written all over it. They get one ahead, and then who's going to score the next goal?
Of course,
Brentford. Yeah.
The first game that Brentford played when they came up was it the Emirates, and Brentford beat them. So
that's right.
They're a decent team. It's like a lot of people saying it's become a cliche that there aren't easy matches anymore. I mean, even teams scraping at the bottom can still put together a decent game. But when you're second in the league, you're expected to win them matches.
While you're here 2 quick questions for each of you then. Are Forest going to make the Champions League, Paul? Yes or no? Yes, was a yes, was it?
I have to keep the faith. I have to keep the faith. I've
Okay.
looked at our run-in. There's our run-in, Colin. With you next Monday night, which I want a prediction from both of you, who's going to win that game? We're coming to you at the Tottenham Hotspur ground. Who's going to win? Henry?
Okay.
Forest. I say Forest will win that.
Okay, I'm going to say Spurs 2-1.
Do you?
Spurs 2-1.
Right.
And then,
I think
then
that's
when you look at this now.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Henry.
No, I'm just looking at that run-in for Forest. There's no reason why Forest can't make the Champions League with that run-in. Chelsea's going to be a bit
That's
of a
going to
stinker.
be. That could be a hell of a match if they're both going for it. And
Exactly.
only one
That could be a decider.
That could be a monster.
Yeah.
Looking at the rest of them, they're all winnable for Forest.
Yeah.
I mean, none of
Palace
them.
worries me at the minute.
Palace will be a tough
Palace
team
worries
to
me at the
beat.
minute.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Forest can beat them. Definitely do. I think Forest.
Yeah,
can win
you
that.
know, if they're really going to be serious about Champions League, this is where they have to. This is where they've
Exactly.
done all the hard work. They've done all the hard work to get here.
Yep.
To get to this position, and this is when they really have got to do it. It's like as I say, you take your driver, your 3-iron, your wedge, and then you got to sink the putt. Otherwise, you got 3 shots with no good. So I think this is what Forest really will.
Well, you nearly throw it away. You watch what Rory did the other night, and you're like,
Well, there you go. Yeah, exactly. Couldn't believe that. Yeah. Couldn't believe that. We couldn't even believe that ourselves.
Colin, do you think
Well,
Forest will get Champions League?
Me?
I think Forest
Yeah.
will. I think Forest will do it. Yeah, I do. I
Yeah.
think Forest could end up. I think can see Forest being 4th this year.
Yeah.
It'll be some
Take
hell of
it
a
now in a
season.
blink. Take it now in a blink.
Well-
Yeah. Colin, there's your last pick.
Yeah. So
You've
what?
got a very tight run-in.
It's a tough run.
Very tight run-in.
People had said that if it wasn't for the fact that there are 3 teams already relegated, Tottenham's running, it's not very pleasant. And it's not, and it really isn't. Every one of those teams has a reason to beat Spurs.
Yeah.
And well, teams have had a reason. You don't need a reason to beat them. And I'm sorry I sound so down, but I just, I'm sort of, I will be worked up for Thursday. I think, to be blunt, I think we've put ourselves in a position where that's really all that matters, and everything matters Thursday night. And then, with that said, that gets to the semi-final. That's not a given either, but one step at a time. We'll see where we'll go. I said Spurs 2-1 Monday night. But,
do you see?
I think if they go out on Thursday, I think it could be a very interesting place to be for a few weeks. And many of us have said that, it's taken time to get into we were Champions League finalists in 2019.
Right.
I'm quite unfortunate in that match. But it's taken a lot of work to get into this mess. It's been quite a while coming, and it could be quite a while getting us back out again.
It's the last chance Costa Codric has for us. He always wins something in his second year.
Yeah, well, whoever allowed him to say that. But I understand if you make a reaction, but he was hanging himself there. I'm not against the guy. I obviously love the team. I support him. But there, I've voted with freedom and sitting for these games, watching what things unfold, watching us lose to teams. But still, sounds disrespectful. But in the scheme of things, we should be beaten and up until so we'll see where we'll go. But it's been very, the release has been very interesting, and there's still some jeopardy there.
The talk of Pochettino coming back.
It's hard to know. Well, he's signed up for the USA, so I don't know. But it's interesting. At least the 3 of us sitting here tonight have some interest still left.
Yeah.
And I did say rather unkindly to Paul that if things go in a strange way, Spurs could be in the Champions League next year and Forest not. Now, as a reward for their seasons, that would be pretty piss poor, but we'll see. I'm not proud. I'll take anything. I would certainly vote 1 year.
Thing there. Henry said the very true thing there. The league doesn't lie. It didn't lie last year or the year before because we deserved to be where we were. And this year we deserve to be where we are. And Man United and Spurs deserve to be where they are.
Absolutely. All I'm saying is that in a perverse way, because of the way these cups work, Spurs or United could win the Europa League and be in Champions League. And somebody who has a bad run at the end, be it Newcastle, Forest, Villa, Chelsea, whatever it may be, may not. But that's the way it goes, you know. That's what keeps it exciting.
The problem I have with, well, apart from the obvious, I was going to say with Spurs, but you look at Spurs and United, I think a lot of the problems come from behind the scenes as well. The club isn't the clubs aren't being run right. I mean, something's going on behind the scenes that those teams aren't competing. They should be competing for at least top 4, but they're not.
I think there's perception. Again, I use these words at times, but that's my background. And there's an old saying in management that used to before: a snake rots from the head down.
Yeah.
And what it means is really that at the top there's something wrong. And I don't think there has been that desire, which I see at first, the desire to really, and maybe not so much our team, to really win, to really go do it, do what's necessary, you know. And Spurs have coasted on just doing enough to keep everyone happy enough without really saying, we really want to go here and win it, you know what I mean? But there we are. Yeah. Guys, we're further moved on there.
Henry, you've Darren Peachy, I don't know if you know him or not, but I love your work. Thanks, mate.
Thanks very much. I mean, I don't really I try to do as little work as I can, but thanks for that.
Have you got a tour planned, or do you want to tell us?
Oh, we'll start playing with XSLF. I come back from America during the week, and we'll start playing at the start of next month. We just play every weekend, you know, left, right, and centre. We've got a lot from XSLF. We've been to Australia. We've been all over Europe. So, and we still get people coming. And for anybody to come and see people that the songs we were doing, the biggest songs we were doing were in the 70s, and people still come to see you playing them. You've got to be grateful to people. I mean, without people coming to see you, same as football. Without your supporters, you're nothing. And it's corny, but it's corny because it's true.
What the Sandinos?
Right.
I know.
Is that still going?
It is. It is.
Yeah.
I tell you, one night, it was a few years ago. I was out on Friday night for a bite to eat. It was a beautiful summer's night. Well, I don't mind a beautiful night. I'm not sure it's summer. The two of us were talking. I said, "Will I go to Sandino's or go up to Da Vinci's?"
Yep.
And I don't know, we're a wee bit close. We'll go to Da Vinci's and have a drink. We went to Da Vinci's, had the drink. I looked in the paper the next day. The Outcasts had been playing Sandino's that night, and I would have loved to seen, you know, Kaiser,
good crowd.
But anyway, so guys, I think we need to close up.
Thank you very much, Henry, for joining us. Yes. Thank you. You're very knowledgeable with your football, and really it's great. And I wish you all the best with SLF and also Arsenal in the cup. He's not going to offer you any support.
He's not going to say it. He won't say it.
I wish you all the best with XLF. Full stop.
Are you still playing yourself, Colin?
A wee bit there. I'll tell you about some other time. We just prior to COVID, we built a wee studio. A friend of mine who's more into the computer side.
Oh, right.
And we've been working on recording some stuff. We'll speak at another time. We slowed up a wee bit and I got involved in a couple of other things, but it was very interesting. It was very interesting. The studio from days whenever we were in 32 track studios, they were the size of a house.
I was talking a couple of years ago. I was talking to Wes over in Blackpool, so that's what I put in my head. I thought, you know, I was
speaking to his girlfriend last week, and I haven't spoken to Wes. Wes David Holmes is going to use one of our tracks, Strange Thing by Night. And they'd been to Wes and got in touch with me, on his new album coming up. So they had to sign, get a grade. And I said to them, look, if you've got an email address for Wes, send it to me, because we haven't spoken for we spoke briefly at his sister's wedding in the early 90s. And prior to that was the 70s, because he'd been away and I'd been different places. But
always liked Wes. I never liked the other guy from that band.
I know that. That's right.
Stand that big Egypt.
I know. I was so heard. Yeah, and everyone wondering, everyone's wondering who that was.
I'll let you off though.
I'll maybe put an explanation in the bio for this, just what you are talking about, because everybody will go, "What are they talking about?" You guys need to get together for a pint.
He doesn't drink. He doesn't drink.
No, never had a drink.
Never had a drink. Never bought a drink in his life. I don't know.
Hey, boy. I resemble that remark. But
anyway, guys, we'll wrap it up. Thank you very much, Henry, for joining us. I'm so
Great.
grateful,
Yeah.
very
Enjoyed that.
grateful
Thank
for
you.
you, and it was very
Thank
good,
you.
very knowledgeable, and look forward to seeing how you both do tomorrow night and Thursday night. And I
be
wish
interesting.
you
Will
the
be
best.
brilliant. I really enjoyed that. Thanks, lads. That was
Good,
great.
good man. We're glad.
Thanks. Well, maybe chat to
Talk
you
to you
again,
soon.
Henry. Thank you
I will
very
chat
much
to you
indeed.
again.
Must get to see you, Colin, soon before I disappear
will do.
again.
Will do.
See what we
Okay.
all do. Talk to you
Perfect.
later.
All the best, guys.
Okay.
Cheers.
Thanks, Henry. Thanks,
Cheers.
Colin.
See ya.
Take care. Stay safe.